a home staging company generating 7 figures in income. There's enough room for everybody. My deeper mission to help women build financial independence, and the person who bought the property also bought all the furniture as well.
Wow.
And it was quite overwhelming being 16, more male dominated at that point. Organic growth was incredible at that time and the only supply for us. I had a lot of these awards that naturally came with the press being interested, but I am also very friendly with a lot of big competitors in the space. You need some more newsworthy things to happen to you, or you need to make it happen. We are strategic in how we want to achieve things. It's often the ones that you think are going to land are the ones that don't. That was because I was able to work on it and not in it. Mm-hmm. So being able to remove myself from it was kind of the best thing that happened, because I then got to work on these higher level strategies.
It's the tools that come out of we need a solution, there's nothing that exists. That's where the good ones come from.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Want to attract and convert more leads? Want to learn how digital PR, branding, and SEO can establish and build your brand identity? Welcome to the Market Movers Building Brands and Links with Linkifi Podcast. We answer these questions and help you ramp up your brand visibility and credibility. Let's cut through the noise and make your business the talk of the town. We're your hosts, Nick and Chris. Let's get this show on the road.
Welcome to the podcast. Today we're exploring entrepreneurship, growth marketing, and property staging with Liv Conlon, founder and CEO of the Property Stagers. Welcome, Liv.
Hi, it's great to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
Liv, it's good to have you on. To start, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself, your background, and how you came to start the Property Stagers?
Okay, yeah, sure. So I launched pretty much my first business when I was 16 years old, and that business was the Property Stagers, which is a home staging company. And a home staging company is a company that furnishes and styles homes for sale. So we do that now across the UK, and we furnish around 400 a year. So from launching it at 16, based in Glasgow, I scaled it within 2 years to generating 7 figures in income, expanded our services across all of the UK. And now, almost like a decade on, I still run that business this very day. And I also coach women in how to launch their own staging businesses across the UK and the US.
Oh, that's great. But you're also providing your own competition, yeah?
Yeah, I absolutely am. Many of the women that I coach do opening competition. I guess I just come from a mindset of abundance rather than scarcity. And I do believe that there's enough room for everybody. When I first got into the industry in the UK, staging wasn't a massive thing. So I would tell most people what I did, and they would have no idea what home staging even was. So actually, through the industry growing and more companies coming onto the market, it's been great for my business as well. So yeah, I am very happy for anyone who wants to launch a staging business. And yeah, it's kind of more of my mission. I think my deeper mission to help women build financial independence. Whilst I love staging, I think that's kind of why I'm here on earth.
That's cool. You said you started at 16. That's super young. How did that happen? Yeah,
so I always knew that I wanted to have my own business. I hated taking any direction at school. I hated teachers. I hated being told where to be, what to wear, what to do. So I knew that I would never be able to work for anybody. And so when I was 16, I thought, right, I need to come up with a business idea. It just happened that my mum was in property. She had an apartment that she was refurbishing to flip, and she put it onto the market. It was completely empty. It sat on the market for 3 months with no offers. No one wanted to buy it. And I'd heard of this thing called home staging from watching a lot of US TV programs. So I said, why don't I stage it and we'll see what happens? So I staged it, and after being on the market for 3 months, it sold in 3 days.
Nice.
Wow.
The same house, the same 4 walls, the same address. It sold for more than the asking price, and the person who bought the property also bought all the furniture as well.
Wow.
So at that point, I realized this is a good business idea, and I think other people need it.
How much commission did you get off your mum?
Nothing. It was a freebie.
But it launched your business, so I think that's fair.
Exactly.
I think that's amazing you started this at 16 and that it's still here. I started my first business at 16 as well.
Oh,
it was a lawn mowing business. It lasted one summer. Turns out I'm like quite allergic to grass, so it didn't go well. So it's amazing that it's still going today. So, okay, after that first one, you decide like, okay, I'd like to go all in on this. I want to start a business. Well, you're 16, so maybe just not all in, but you think there's something here. What did you do after that? How did you get the first couple of clients?
So I went networking. So I just went to property networking events locally. I thought like that's the easiest kind of way to reach people who need this service. And it was quite overwhelming being 16. I look 16, and at the time, the property industry, whilst it still is, it was even more male dominated at that point. And so I was literally pretty much one of the only females in the room, but also younger than pretty much everybody by at least 25 years. So it was quite daunting, and especially what I was going in to talk about, which was cushions and artwork and staging. I felt overwhelmed, but I think I handled myself well enough and just got the first person to say yes. And then it was kind of the domino effect from there.
Nice. So you mentioned that it was not something, it was big in America, something that you'd seen. Was this not a dominant industry at that time when you started staging? Was this something that you needed to educate potential clients about? And now is it something which has become much more prevalent?
Oh, 100%. Like nobody, pretty much 95% of the people I would speak to had no idea what it was. And now I'd say it's probably 50% of people I speak to still don't know what it is. So I think the industry still has a lot of ground to cover. We've still got a lot of growth. But it's came on so much in the last 10 years.
Well, yeah, that's a good place to be. And if you know it works and you can show it works and no one's heard of it, like being early to a market is a really good place to be.
Yeah, I agree. I think those who get in today are still relatively early. Obviously, I was kind of like 10 years before. But it's really, the popularity of this has really surged in, I would say, the last 3 years. So I do think if it is an industry you're looking to get into, we are still at the beginning stages. But I think we'll start to rapidly grow over the next 5 to 10 years.
Okay. So the first couple of clients you get from in-person networking, how do you grow up from there? Did it continue to be networking, or did you come up with some different growth strategies?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of stopped networking pretty soon in my second year of business, because at the time I started to post on social media. Organic growth was incredible at that time, and there was really no one else posting the type of content I was. I'm quite always brightly dressed. I've got a bit of a different perspective on branding. So I just happened to pick up a lot of clients on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, of people that were just hearing my name spoken at these events, and started to consider staging their homes. And at the same time, I started to offer other services where I would furnish serviced accommodation, vacation rental type properties. So just like a snowball effect, it just built up so much momentum that we ended up, going from 30,000 in revenue to $1 million in such a short space of time.
That's awesome. It's such a visual thing, staging as well. So it lends itself perfectly to social media, which is why I imagine you did really well with that sort of marketing. I'm intrigued. The main sort of client you do, is it corporate clients like big property developers that are looking to sell multiple properties, or individual clients? And what's the sales proposition to the ideal customer? Like, is it an increase in the sale price if not compared to not staged to staged? Could you talk me through that a bit?
Yeah, so we will pretty much work with anyone who has an empty property that is listing it on the market for sale and wants to achieve the maximum price possible. I'm on the stage for sale side of what we do. We work with, people who are just doing this as sort of like a side hustle and flipping some properties. And we also work with building companies, developers who have built sites of, a couple of hundred homes, who are setting up a few show homes. So we work with both sort of ends of the spectrum, and 80% of the properties that we stage sell within the first 6 weeks, even in a down market. So it really, really does work. And many of the properties we sell actually, break the ceiling price of the street. And then on the service accommodation side, we mainly work with people who are developing blocks of apartments. So the largest block that we furnished is 169 apartments in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And again, we'll work with people who have blocks of 10. So we're kind of on all ends of the market, working just with anyone that needs furnishing.
So those you're talking about, the bulk units, are they furnishing for staging, or is that providing the furniture for like short-term rentals or?
Yeah, so the bigger blocks are providing it for the short-term rentals.
Okay.
Sometimes it's student accommodation, sometimes it's, Airbnb type properties. It just depends on the project and the location.
So in those scenarios, you're actually selling the furniture. You're staging and providing the furniture.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. So we sell it, and then on the staging for sale, they would rent the kit until the property sells.
Okay. I'm more familiar with that model than the providing the furniture. And I think I saw on your site that you guys actually manufacture the furniture. Is that right?
Yeah, we do. When the company got a lot larger, it was just more, I guess, it was more reasonably priced for us to manufacture it. And also we were able to get more variety in what we could offer, and the right quality that we needed as well. Because we just hit a ceiling with everything we purchased. It felt like it was getting very samey. So yeah, we've been able to move into that end of the market too, which has been really fun.
Are you only selling that manufactured furniture via the homes staging, or do you have other avenues for the sale of the furniture?
No, we don't sell it retail. We only sell it with like our furniture packages.
So what goes into manufacturing your own furniture? Because I feel like that's quite the jump there. It's a whole new venture, figuring out how to do that, logistics, all that stuff.
Yeah, well, I love the book by Dan Sullivan, Who Not How. So really for us, it was leveraging the who already does this and who can we sort of develop our own line with. So we found a manufacturer that manufactures like wardrobes, chests of drawers, bedside tables, a different manufacturer for like sofas and beds. And then we created our own line with them that they only supply for us.
Oh, okay.
That's nice. Can I just ask a side question? I've just purchased a new house and I complete tomorrow. I was looking around a lot of new build homes that were obviously beautifully staged. Can I just ask one inside secret question? Do they make the beds slightly smaller than they actually are in the staging rooms so that the rooms look bigger?
Well, it depends on the size of property. And sort of like new build developments by, the big names that we all know about it. They'll use queen size beds, which are like small doubles.
Okay.
Obviously sometimes we're staging like big country homes and you could probably fit about 10 king size beds in there. So we are putting slightly larger beds in the more traditional types of properties.
That's so cool. There's not a custom small size that's just to make the property look bigger.
Well, queen size, which is like your small double, is the smallest you're going to get.
Right. Okay, cool. I mean, that's awesome then that you found ways to diversify your revenue streams. I'm intrigued now then, what's your main lead acquisition channels now? Where is your biggest focus?
Yeah, so we kind of have like a 3-pronged strategy. We're still very active on social media and bringing in clients through our digital marketing strategies. We do a lot of work on our press coverage and our media coverage, which is our second strategy. And then thirdly is just our partnerships with local real estate agents, management companies who are working with our ideal clients in bulk, and we can offer them an incredible service that takes it completely off their hands.
Okay, let's start with the organic part. So what is this something a lot of people are searching for? And when you say organic, do you mean like organic traffic from Google?
Yeah, so a lot of people are searching for it, obviously, on social media platforms, but also Google. And really from Google, we are pretty highly ranked. Obviously due to how long we've been in the industry and how much work we put into, getting our name out there and connecting with other high-level companies that are going to give us good backlinks.
That's cool. So organic Google search traffic is an important driver for you. You also mentioned that press is a big thing. And obviously when I was looking around the internet for you, you've obviously done very well with that. I'd love you to give us an insight into your press strategy for the home stages. And I think personal branding as well is a big part of that.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of naturally fell into the press when I was on my journey of really scaling my company to 7 figures, because it was such an incredible story of, a teenager scaling a 7-figure company in under 2 years. I actually won 13 awards in the space of a year. I'm like UK Entrepreneur of the Year. I was 5-time Scottish businesswoman. I had a lot of these awards that naturally came with the press being interested. And it kind of snowballed from there. The BBC got interested, they done a big spread, and then it took to pretty much every other platform. And so really, I've always led with that story of my now a decade in business. And recently, home staging, because of the interest, is growing. Those people are coming back to me time and time again to secure features on what people should be doing with their own homes if they're selling. And so we do a lot of education type content, quick tips, things that people can take away. And then we also do more of kind of my story again. It's developed. I've became a mum, and I've launched other businesses. So a lot of people are very interested in how I juggle that and manage my life as, a CEO, a mum, and everything else that comes with that.
I think there's a few really interesting things you said there. One is that your story was newsworthy. That's, I think, one of the biggest things people underestimate when it comes to PR and why they're not getting coverage. They release a new feature in their SaaS product or something like that, and they wonder why they can't get coverage. It's not newsworthy. So your story, I think it's just inherently newsworthy. That helped you get a lot of coverage. And then you said, as this industry started to mature, there's more interest in it, you became that go-to person where journalists, I'm guessing, were reaching out to you to say, hey, we're doing a story about this. Can you give some advice on this? So there's a clear, I think, reason to do this as a long-term activity. You become that go-to person. The press is coming back to you. Coverage that just comes to you, that's hard to beat. So I'm also curious, this coverage that you're getting, could you track direct client growth from the press coverage?
Yeah, so when I am featured in the press, it actually grows both of my businesses, obviously, because they're very much linked. And so we will receive clients who have seen us in things like the Daily Mail. I'm now a columnist for Female. And it will be clients who said, I actually read about you and realized this is a service I need, and then hired us for the staging side. And also a lot of women will read my story, feel very much connected to it, and want to do this as a career also. So yeah, we can, especially through conversation, link where people found us. And, a lot of our business does come from this. But also, I guess you can't really connect to every single person that would come through it. Mm-hmm. But, I am also very friendly with a lot of big competitors in the space. And they're like, we can't get ahead of you on Google search. And I was like, well.
Yeah. The press, the features have to be a big part of that, being seen as the authority in this space.
Yeah, 100%. And I was told, a while back that I'm from a business coach that I had, you're not newsworthy anymore. You're kind of moved on from that story of being a teenager. You need some more newsworthy things to happen to you, or you need to make it happen. So, the sense of it just comes to me. It's a lot of strategy and how I build the brand and the successes that I report and everything that happens within our company. So yeah, it's not about being newsworthy once. I think you need to keep refreshing that story.
I think you've set yourself up in a perfect position, though, to be a thought leader within your industry, and you're obviously taking a very proactive approach to positioning yourself within the UK media, I guess, predominantly. So, are you actively reaching out to journalists to cover stories, or is this something which you allow to be more them coming to you and you just utilize those opportunities as and when they come up?
We do a bit of both. It's probably 80% reach out from them and 20% of us reaching out. And we are strategic in how we want to achieve things. So we have goals of where we want to be featured next and what stories we want to run. And I have, a marketing team that connect with the right individuals, have conversations with them to get the next feature in the right place.
So that's very interesting. When you're thinking about the story you want to take out, can you tell us about how you come up with those strategies? I think this is another thing I see people will say, we want to go with this data, and we'll look at it and we'll say, it's not very interesting. What would the journalist find interesting? So how do you balance that of we want to get this message out there, knowing that journalists have to find it, newsworthy, it has to help them do their job. How do you come up with, those kind of ideas?
I think it's just about being prolific. So having an abundance of them. We go all the time with stories like that and people are like, that's not interesting. Whereas, it's often the ones that you think are going to land are the ones that don't. And it's something that's actually perhaps a little bit more simple that actually does work. And I think what I realized through press is it's for the public. It's not for essentially your ideal clients. It's not for the property developers. It's kind of for the whole nation. And you're hoping that those people will essentially stumble upon it or read it. So we do have like a monthly call where we throw out all these ideas of things that we could create, we could write. But the things that do best are success stories of properties that sold fast, tips and tricks of how to help other people do this. And then anything like personally that I'm working on that has pretty much more of a give and back angle. Like, for example, we got a lot of press around one of the charity events that we hosted, which was called Dream 100 Home Makeover, I think it was, a Christmas home makeover. This was a couple of years ago. And we went into homes across Glasgow and London. And these were temporary accommodation properties where people actually found themselves homeless at Christmas and in these homes. So we went and gave them Christmas makeovers. So we got like tons of Christmas decorations for free from like M&S, Argos, Sainsbury's. They donated like over £50,000 worth of things. And we went in and we staged these spaces. So an angle that actually has not you in mind, but someone else. And of course, that's great to see your brand being, reported in such a great light. But it was also like some of the most rewarding days ever in my life so far.
Win-win.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So it seems like it's a continual activity. It's not something that you can take the foot off the gas. PR, it fuels a lot of your business, your growth. And you've got that personal branding element as well, Young Businesswoman of the Year, and I'm sure you're still winning awards today. You're growing multiple businesses alongside the main focus business. So it just sounds like a great way to grow the business even further from where it currently is. Want to ask a question. I see, especially the Mail, the Sun, these sorts of publications, they always do these horror story. You just said the things that work best are the biggest like flip price, so biggest increase in sale. But I see these horror ones. Have you come across any staging horror stories that you can share with us?
Oh, staging horror stories. Not so much in terrible properties that we've been called out to, because we wouldn't be the type of people that would be called into something like that.
Right.
But I have, in my pretty much decade in the business, went to stage properties that have no staircases, and they want us to stage upstairs. And it's like, we don't levitate, so I don't know how you want us to be able to do this. And because we're dealing a lot of the times with sort of bigger developments, often the builders and the developer are not in the best of communications. And so multiple times you'll show up and we're still on building sites. You need to wear a hard hat, even though you've got like 5 vans worth of furniture. So there's a lot of things that happen like this. And it's a fun business to be in, but there's a lot of logistical planning and sometimes some nightmares that can happen.
On the flip side of that, have you ever staged for a celebrity home?
Oh, good one.
So we've not really, because celebrities already have interior designed homes, but we did stage a property in Forest Row just outside of London that Bono had once lived in. So that's probably the closest to celebs that we've been.
Claim to fame.
Yeah.
I would definitely tag him on social media and see if we can meet up.
We tried. It didn't really work.
Okay, so I'm curious now, you live in Spain, which I think this is quite interesting, that it's quite a big company. How many people did you say how many people work at the company?
Yeah, so it's it's about 10 people that work there, both full-time and part-time. And I do run it alongside my mum as well. So she lives in Spain with me, and we run the company together. Okay,
so let's talk about that. How does that work, running this remotely? Because it's a lot of people nowadays run remote companies, but usually they're not local, service companies. They're completely online. So how does this work with the day-to-day? Do you find any challenges, living so far away?
To be honest, I find it hard to, when I'm on the ground, I just want to get my hands dirty and get involved with all the installations and probably end up messing them up. So it was actually such a good move for me to move away from the business, and I actually 5x'd it when I moved to Spain. It done 200,000. I moved away, and that's when we really 5x'd to 1 million. And I think that was because I was able to work on it and not in it. I was very much for too long being the person who went out and staged the properties, drove the van, sometimes carried like way too much furniture. So being able to remove myself from it was kind of the best thing that happened, because I then got to work on these higher level strategies. Obviously, it doesn't come without its challenges. I'm not having that in-person connection with your team, but a lot of our team have been there for a really long time. We do go back and have those in-person connections. So yeah, it's challenging, but it was a good decision business-wise.
It forced you to, like you said, step out and be much more strategic.
Yeah, I think people are busy fools in their business, and they actually get a lot of importance from like putting themselves into the day-to-day. And that was probably me. And so actually just not being able to do it was the best move.
Yeah, that's great. So how important is it then to have like an operator on the ground who can handle everything? I imagine like you have employee issues, someone doesn't show up, you get there's no stairs. How important is it that someone on the ground is kind of running the day-to-day operations?
Yeah, I mean, it's super important. Like all of my admin team are remote, and we are the people, I mean, I'm not in the admin team anymore, but I kind of work more on the marketing side. They manage everything up until the day. Until, the team pack the van and they arrive. And then we'll have a team lead at the stage or the block of apartments who will lead the team and sort of manage it. And so they will always feed back to our admin team, who are the people who are in direct communication with the client. So it is important to have that person that you really trust there, and that is just going to be able to handle it in that moment.
Okay. What's your sort of tech stack and communications with the team? Weekly meetings, Google Meet, Slack? Like, how are you handling all that?
Yeah, weekly meetings on Zoom. We are really not very tech savvy on that side of things. We still use WhatsApp more than we do Slack. We have WhatsApp groups. On my other companies, I do have Slack, but with this, just with the nature of being out in the road and everything like that, we use WhatsApp. And then on a sort of like our back end platforms, we use TeamUp for a calendar, but we are actually about to develop our own software for home stagers. Nice. So that's hopefully going to revolutionize our business and everyone else's.
So tell us a little bit about that. What is the plan for the software?
So the plan for the software, because there really is nothing created for home stagers. So it's going to be inventory management. It's going to be like calendar management, where you can give, certain team members access to what they need to see, what they don't need to see, and then having a pipeline built in for where certain clients are in your sales pipeline and also in the sort of production pipeline.
I think this is where the best tools come from. You find the need in the business. There's always people trying to develop tools in a business they've never worked in. It's the tools that come out of, we need a solution, there's nothing that exists. That's where the good ones come from.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've got like a wicked team of developers on it. So that's exciting. They're very excited about it. And I think it could, once it's worked in the staging industry, actually be white labeled for others, for like event industry. Because a lot of these industries are a little bit backwards.
How and where did you source your developers from, just out of interest?
It's just through a mastermind. I was actually put in touch with them. So we are in collaboration together in a partnership, rather than, I did look into this and it was $25,000 development fees a month.
So you've taken them on, given them equity staking in whatever's developed. Nice. Okay. That's really cool. You mentioned, actually, you didn't mention specifically, you said, I'm intrigued, you work with your mum or your mum works for you? And I just wanted to know what the dynamic was like. Just my mum works for me as well. So I was intrigued on that.
Yeah. So, on paper, she works for me, but she really is like my, business partner and confidant. So we do work together. And she works alongside me on Stage Your Boss as well. She's actually the woman who coaches a lot of our clients on scaling their businesses.
Oh, that's really cool. And Stage Your Boss is the trainings arm of the business. Yeah. So that is an avenue for you to give back the skills and advice and everything that you've learned and train other successful property stagers. Could you just talk us through any like awesome success stories from the training side? That'd be a cool way to end.
Yeah. So we've had over 350 women go through our one-to-one coaching program. And the goal of that is really to help women replace their income from their current 9-to-5 or corporate career. I mean, home staging is a business that you can launch with no startup funds, experience, portfolio, and scale it really fast. So we have helped a ton of women out those 350 women scale to multi-six figures and beyond. For example, one woman we've worked with, Vanya, scaled to 6 figures in a year, has 3 kids, 1, 3 and 5, no childcare, and feels like it's a part-time job. So incredible success stories like that. We've got other clients who have now been running their staging businesses for 3 years plus and generating 250k a year. I've got another client who's in the events industry, runs a 500k business, launched this as another arm this year and is already hitting that 250k mark.
Wow.
So we've got so many success stories, and from people of all different backgrounds, stay-at-home mums, women who've been working in corporate, but literally no one that we've coached to do this has had any formal interior design training.
That must be so personally rewarding for you as well.
It is. It's my favorite part of what I do every day.
I bet, yeah.
And just, seeing how women's lives have transformed, giving them so much independence, not only financially, but confidence. It's been life-changing for me.
I'm curious about you said none of them have formal interior design training. How do you learn that aspect? That's, I think a lot of people, we buy a new house and we're like, what do we put in it? I'm interested to hear how you actually kind of learn. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a small percentage of people in the world who just have the knack. Me being one of those people, and pretty much the women who have huge success also being them. I think for most women, we all believe we have that interior design eye. And so it attracts a lot of women who enjoy furnishing their own home and designing it. I think it's something you can just develop over time.
Have you had any men successfully go through the course? Or it's not exclusively for women, is it? Or
it is exclusively for women.
It is exclusively for women.
We've not worked with any men at Stage Your Boss, and I'm quite excited to keep it that way. No offense to men, but I do think there's something about a really safe space for women to just be fully themselves and share all the feminine things that we want to share. Because at our events, they get very deep, people get very vulnerable, and I just want to keep that space closed for female only.
Okay, well, I think as we come to the end of the conversation, I'm curious, what's next for the business? What are the future plans?
So I've not really announced this, but we are in talks with creating a TV program. We're actually quite far into the journey of that in the UK. So I think that could revolutionize both businesses beyond probably what I could have imagined without it. We've scaled Stage Your Boss to a 7-figure revenue business this year, and we're hosting our first event in the US next year. So our expansion plans are huge to really take the US by storm. With our property staging company, we just we don't have huge plans to scale this into, a $20 million empire, £20 million empire. And we're quite happy at the size that it is, but I do think the TV program could add a lot of fuel and a lot of clients to more than what we're currently doing.
Is that going to be you on the TV show?
Yeah.
Oh,
wow. Okay. That's awesome. Yeah. So when that goes live, then I'll probably republish this podcast episode all over social.
We can jump on for an update.
That'll be our Bono moment. We'll be like, we know somebody famous.
Yeah. Can you give any more details on the show? When it's coming?
I can't really, because it's still in sort of the commissioning phase.
Okay, how
but
exciting.
It's funny, it actually came through our PR, that because we're in the press, frequently, I'm very active online. Someone from a production company, and I've had these conversations in the past, and this is the furthest it ever went. And I think it's time. I think this is a TV program. We've got Buying London, we've got Selling Sunset, Owning Manhattan, all these different TV programs through Netflix and HGTV. I think it's time for a program that's just solely dedicated to home staging.
Yeah, it could blow up. This definitely could be the next trajectory.
It's the ultimate
crossed.
Branding strategy as well.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything else you could do that would be a bigger brand building activity than that.
Yeah, it was, I don't know if, but Dan Sullivan again, I don't know if you've read the book 10X is Easier Than 2X. At the start of this year, I wrote down in a notebook, I'm very goal driven, a TV program that was just the one thing on the page. And then the email came in April. So over such a short space of time, that came up as an opportunity. So fingers crossed it all goes ahead. I know that these things are never certain, but I know that if it's not with this production company, I will make it happen.
Well, I am so excited for when that comes out. And as long as you don't get too famous, if you could come back on again and let us know how things are going in a year's time, that would be awesome. Liv, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast. Really exciting to see where your business and life takes you in the coming months and years. If people want to find you, where's the best place they can do that?
Yeah, so they can find me on Instagram at Olivia Conlon or at StagerBoss. And feel free to drop a message and tell me if anything resonated from this interview.
Perfect. Thanks, Liv.
Thank you.
3, 2, 1, yeah!
And that wraps up this episode of Market Movers Building Brands and Links with Linkify. Big thanks to our parent company, Linkifi, the wizards behind turning ambitious businesses into standout brands. Hit up our website at linkify.io and take the first steps towards brand greatness. Big shout out to Fame for making this podcast possible. Thanks for listening, folks. Stick around for more insights in our next episode. Catch you later.